Wow, Batman, you really can drop those villains.
Oh, thanks, Soups.
Now watch me drop the beat.
As the James Gunn Superman movie's release date approaches, I think it's definitely important to look at the previous cinematic universe DC tried to pull. Regardless if you think the DCEU movies were complete garbage or actually kind of okay, it's safe to say that they were definitely a big fat old mess that tried to ride the MCU train without any of the building blocks that made the MCU work. And by the end, it just wasn't a cinematic universe anymore, it was just multiple movies that were under the same umbrella. It's been such a long time since I have watched some of these films, so I really wanted to refresh myself before the beginning of the DCU drops, and Jesus Christ, do I have some shit to say. I'm not really gonna waste time on writing a big intro, I'm gonna talk about Man of Steel and Batman v Superman now.
I'll only go by Superman.
Man of Steel begins with Superman's origin story. I bet every single one of you already know Cal's origin story, but the difference with this is that not only does everything happen as intended, Cal's dad steals this thing called the Codex, which basically holds Kryptonian DNA, which will allow them to restart their species if used. Jor, knowing this, injects the Codex in Cal before sending him off to Earth and dying along with the rest of the planet, of course. Now, I don't mind the change in the origin, but what bothers me is how long the origin takes. This movie spends 20 whole minutes fucking around on Krypton and re-explaining the origin story that everyone in the audience knows. Like, why is this here, man? There's a reason why other Superman iterations spend so much less time explaining this, because everybody already knows this. And I don't mind Zack Snyder adding his fanfiction into Superman's origin story, but the first 20 minutes of the very first movie is too early for you to start explaining Krypton lore, and I would rather get through all the Clark Kent becoming Superman stuff first before the lore dump. I know it's fucking obvious, but this movie looks so ass. Why are the colors so ridiculously muted? Like, the fact that the movie has a darker tone doesn't mean the actual footage should be darker as well, because this looks so bad. I'm like 80% sure they must have made the movie darker in post, and like, I don't know if it's just to make the movie more grounded in reality or just because Zack Snyder wants to be an edgelord, but either way, it does not look good. Hard cut to 33 years later of Clark working as what I assume is a fisherman and saving some guys from an exploding oil rig. I did a fireman completely don't question the fact that this random dude who is completely impervious to fire breaks through the metal door with his bare hands and gets them out of here. All we get is just some confused faces before they just go along with it, I guess. So anyway, the oil rig explodes with Clark still on it, and we get a flashback to his life as a kid. Now we get multiple of these throughout the movie, and they're all fine, I guess, but this first one is the one that confuses me the most. In this scene, it is shown that Child Clark is overrun by everything going on around him because of the fact he's from Krypton and has stronger senses. But like, in this scene, he's already been on Earth for a couple years now. Wouldn't he have gotten used to it by now? And it is made clear that this isn't his first day of school or anything by the fact that the teacher and the students all know him. So does this happen every day with him, or did he just randomly get overwhelmed out of the blue? And by the way, Clark isn't just dealing with his abilities, like he can decide when to use his see-through vision. It isn't something he can just not turn off, unless he likes it that way. After Clark swims back to shore, we get a second flashback like 2 minutes after the last one of teenage Clark saving his class from drowning, and his dad telling him afterward that maybe he should have let them die. What? Is this dude insane? This man says that Clark should have let his entire class die in order to keep his abilities hidden. What the actual fuck? I don't think I need to explain that Clark's dad would never say something like this. Like, he would be worried of course, but he ain't saying shit like this. So later in the flashback, Clark learns of how they found him, and we return to the present and he's working on a bar, I guess. There's a guy pushing himself onto a girl. Clark tries to stop him, but he gets humiliated because he's showing restraint to beat him the fuck up, I guess. Okay, now afterwards, he proceeds to demolish his truck out of spite. Here's the thing, Kent would never do anything this massively petty to anyone. I think I need to say this now, Zack Snyder does not understand Superman. Very few people do, actually. I've already explained how much people suck at doing Superman right, but I'm still gonna explain this because I feel like it. Superman isn't an odd alien, he is just a guy who just so happens to come from space. I haven't seen a movie that understands that Clark is just a normal fucking guy. He was raised on Earth. Ever since he was like 1 day old. There is no reason for him to not have human emotions. He wants to make him an emotionless demigod who doesn't understand how humans behave, but that's the furthest thing from what the actual character is supposed to do. Clark Kent is supposed to just be a chill dude, but no, I'm Zack Snyder. I like guns and sex and death and shit. I'm gonna write Superman like he landed on Earth 2 days ago. Seriously, people need to read a comic book, or at least watch one episode of some of the cartoons, because the amount of media that completely botches Superman's character completely astonishes me. Afterwards, we see Lois Lane landing in the Arctic or whatever to report on the find that the scientists made there.
What if I need to tinkle?
You did not just say the word tinkle. Lois goes underground and finds like an abandoned Kryptonian ship, and Clark is also there for some reason. The movie never explains how he knows this place exists or how he got there. He's just there as well. This is me in post, by the way. Clark actually snuck on the same helicopter that Lois was on. It still doesn't explain how he did that, but like that's still a better explanation than what I said beforehand. So they fuck around on the ship. Lois gets wounded and Clark has to heal her wounds, which he then afterwards just leaves her in the snow. Wow, very smart choice there, bud. I'm not sure what happened, but during this, the ship raises from the ice and everyone is like, wow, what the fuck is that? But strangely, the movie then cuts to what I can assume is a couple days later of Lois explaining this to bootleg J. Jonah Jameson and him saying that her story is insane. And then it cuts back to Clark, still sitting on that same ship. Like, has he been sitting there for multiple days? People saw the ship. Why has no one come to see what this thing is? This movie does not make any sense. Anyway, Lois sends the information she found to some guy who just runs some conspiracy website or whatever. And while that is going on, Clark is getting a Krypton lore dump by a hologram of his dad. About how Kryptonians found Earth like 1,000 years ago and just forgot they left the ship there, I guess. After Clark gets a tutorial, we finally see our first look at the suit, and even after watching it again 5 years later, I don't know how to feel about it, man. I hate how it ditches the homegrown original for a futuristic muted mess, but a part of me thinks it kinda looks sick. I don't know. So Kent flies for the first time. I think I have to say this now because it gets really annoying this scene onwards. I hate how this movie is shot so much. Why does the camera move like it's a found footage movie recorded on someone's phone? And there's constantly this weird ass menu zoom. Like, why? Not only does it look ass, it also doesn't make sense because things like these imply that someone is recording this. Who the fuck is recording Clark flying through Antarctica? After that, Lois goes around and asks people who could have a connection to Kent until they finally meet up again, and he starts yapping about how his dad died, and we get another flashback now. If you calculate the years correctly, this is supposed to be a 17-year-old Clark. Mate, this is not a teenager, this is a 30-year-old Henry Cavill. Boy, I'm a terrible father figure, boy. So Lois, after hearing the story, decides to drop the case because she understands that the world isn't ready to know that there's someone like this. Until Zod flies to Earth and starts threatening it. And we get a scene that tries to be spooky or something. Just watch fucking Brightburn if you want something like that. That movie is like 1,000,000,000 times better anyway. After that, we get our fourth flashback that adds literally nothing. And yet again, Zack does not understand Superman and compares him to God. Yes, this is stupid and completely misses the point. Yes, Zack is an edgelord. Yes, I have talked about this before. I swear to God, if I start talking about how much I hate the Watchmen movie, this video is just gonna become a Zack Snyder rant. Superman reveals himself and goes to the army because Lois got kidnapped by the FBI or whatever, and then turns himself into Zod. They yap about the fact that Zod wants to make Earth the new Krypton, and after that we have like a 40-minute DBZ fight. And I'm not kidding, there's times where it stops for like some dialogue, but then just continues for another 5 minutes of anime fights. This is what I mean by the fact that Zack Snyder is just an edgelord who likes action movies, because Clark is just destroying the fucking city. Like, my dude is intentionally hurling Zod through buildings and he doesn't give a fuck about the people's lives. Like, Superman is unironically causing more damage than the villains here. Obviously, it ends in the scene we all know because Zack likes murder and sex and shit. Anyway, I don't think I need to explain how much this movie doesn't understand source material, or how it spends most of its time on lore dumps, or boring flashbacks, or an unnecessary long fight scene. It's moody and edgy for no reason. It feels like it's written by an edgy 13-year-old. Like, you know that one motherfucker in class who would say, I don't like how the heroes always win. I like gore and stuff, it's so cool. That's who feels like it's written by. But unironically this time, this movie was probably supposed to be a start of a small trilogy or something, but with the boom of the MCU, the writers and everyone else on the team were forced to make it a part of a cinematic universe. Now, that's probably what happened. I could kinda see that, but how it feels kinda off. With or without that, I think the movie just doesn't understand its protagonist, and didn't have the building blocks for the preparation to make the story it wanted to make. Along with the fact that people were just learning about Superman and everyone else, it tries to juggle both too much and too little at the same time. When I watched it for the first time years ago, I thought it was alright, but now I think I'm confident in giving this movie a 3.5 out of 10.
What are you, some kind of furry?
You're the one here wearing an animal suit.
Happening, guys, this movie is 3 hours long. May the Lord be with us all. Now, you'd be surprised, but the beginning of this film is actually very promising. We get Batman's backstory, but it goes by very quickly in like 2 minutes, which is great because everybody already knows Bruce's backstory, even more than Clark's. So this fast run through is the best way you could have it done. But there is this moment where Child Bruce just starts floating in the air surrounded by a bunch of bats. Now, I would be very confused, but there's probably some weird physics malarkey going on here that I could not understand because I'm not good at physics, so I won't make a comment on it. But I will make a comment on the imagery and say that this is yet another case of Zack wanting to make edgy superhero fanfiction. The next scene is of the destruction from the fight Superman had with Zod, from the point of view of the civilians. Kinda comparable to a 9/11 type of event, and don't get me wrong here, this is a good scene, but there is something in seeing Jacked as hell Ben Affleck running through the streets that makes me just laugh. I don't even know why, it's just funny for some reason. Next, we see some people finding kryptonite in the ocean. We know that the Kryptonians have been on Earth before. This was probably left by them, actually. How are the humans finding this shit now? It was literally just a few feet down. Now we time skip to a year and a half later of Lois writing about a story in Africa, and we get the introduction of the man, the myth, the legend, Jimmy. Me and the boys, we all love Jimmy. Now as Lois tries to interview the leader of this gang, I think Jimmy gets revealed to be an FBI agent and gets killed. Oh no, he's just dead. We never see or hear any mention of him ever again. Yeah, Clark's best friend, Jimmy Olsen, he's just dead, man. Yeah, goodbye. Anyways, a fight breaks out between these hired mercenaries and the gang and shit, and Lois is taken as a hostage until Superman shows up only after most are murdered. Great job, buddy. And yet again, we get another example of Clark being a fucking idiot with him hurling this human man through multiple brick walls. Later, we get the introduction of Batman and him stopping a human trafficking situation, and seeing a jacked, grown-ass 40-year-old man crawling around the walls and ceiling like a fucking licker from Resident Evil makes me question the maturity level of Zack Snyder here. We then see Clark and Lois arguing about what happened in Africa, and I have to agree with Lois here that this Superman is so selfish. Bro really just said, nah, I'ma let these people die, and then only comes when his GF is in danger. Nothing in the universe that can convince me that this is the real Clark and not just an extremely horny alternate from the Mandela catalog.
Impossible characteristic.
Next thing we learn is that Bruce is tracking down the main mercenary guy from the start, and then we get introduced to this movie's version of Lex. Sorry mate, but this just is not Lex. I like the version in My Adventures with Superman, but this is just too damn much. I can tell that they're going for the crazy super genius villain thing, but he's just giving the vibes of a dude who likes to be in TikTok edits, and I don't care about the fact that your dad's from Germany. So Lex wants to make kryptonite because a lot of people really don't like Superman, which is understandable, considering how much of a fucking idiot he is. So Clark, now working at the Daily Planet, goes and tries to investigate Batman. No, sorry. The Bat, as he is referred to in this movie. But finds nothing important so far. And also, Bruce put a tracker on the mercenary, I guess. So after that, I think the senator of I forgot which state goes to Lex's house and tells him that he won't be allowed to use kryptonite anymore.
My dad always said that.
For goodness sake, I don't care about your father.
Do you know the oldest lie in America, Senator? Can I call you June?
You can call me whatever you like. Take a bucket of piss and call it Granny's peach tea.
Ha, bro.
Weapon of assassination.
Yeah,
Call it deterrent.
that's not funny. Bruce gets invited to a party Lex is throwing, and he finds it a good opportunity to steal kryptonite from him and kill Superman. Zack, I know you're an edgelord and everything, but this isn't fanfiction. This is a feature film. Batman doesn't fucking kill. You know that, right? So as Bruce is looking over shit in his lair, we see this statue of Robin, specifically Jason, who we all know is killed by the Joker. But like, what are the implications of this? Isn't Batman supposed to be a newer superhero? If he isn't new, which the existence of this statue of Robin is implying, then how do people only know him as the Bat? Why the fuck is he like this boogeyman character or some shit? In what context would have Robin ever found Batman if he's basically a fucking shadow man? And you know how people like to joke about Robert Pattinson's version of Batman and the black eyeliner and stuff? But just check out this moment of Ben Affleck just acting all edgy and cool and pissed off in the shower. He's so fucking cool, guys. Bruce goes to the party and talks about Batman with Clark, I guess. Lex yaps for 2 minutes and we see Wonder Woman for literally 2 seconds.
I can't stay down here, Alfred.
Go upstairs and socialize. Some young lady from Metropolis will make you honest. In your dreams, Alfred.
Bro, I love how this version of Alfred is just fucking done with life. Clark sees a house burning on the news and saves a woman from dying in there. And then the next 2 minutes is people discussing politics and religion regarding Superman. And Jesus fucking Christ, this is not the point of Superman. So something we find out about this version of Batman is that he intentionally brands the criminals he defeats, so the inmates in prison know who to kill. I'm sorry, but that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. But yet again, we are talking about the same guy who made Watchmen, a comic book series that criticizes the violence of action movies, into a violent action movie. So after Bruce and Diana flirt at another gathering, we get the infamous scene of the nightmare that Bruce has and Batman using a gun. Now, I don't think I could add any commentary on how this scene is so stupid. Why does the army have the Superman logo on their shoulders? Zack, you are not sane. So afterwards, we get another quite famous scene of Batman tracking down the mercenary and just fucking murdering every dude in his path. Oh, no, sorry. They only happened to be there. He didn't do anything intentionally. So then Superman distracts him and they threaten each other and then Superman fucks off. Important information that I haven't talked about until this point. The people think Superman killed every single one of the people back at the fight scene in the beginning, but he didn't kill them all. Instead, he only killed one of them. Now Owen, who was apparently there, tells the senator about this and then gets assassinated by the same mercenary that Batman wasn't able to catch because of this fucking dumbass. Okay, so that mercenary, by the way, he's Lex's guy. Anyway, let me explain his plan. Lex wants to get the rights to use kryptonite, so he wants to assassinate the senator. I don't really know how that makes sense, because if the law is already in place, the senator dying wouldn't do anything, but I digress. He also wants to incriminate Superman. That fight in the beginning was done for that reason. So knowing that there's gonna be a meeting in Washington about the legality of Superman, with Superman attending, he brings a dude who lost his legs during the attack from Zod, who will attend said meeting, to his house and gives him an electric wheelchair with a bomb installed inside and then detonates it while the meeting is going on. So not only kill everyone inside, but to also incriminate Superman. And guess what? Superman, being the worst superhero in existence, just flies away. I mean, this fucker is just incriminating himself on purpose at this point.
We create a free and a...
Ha ha ha. That's still not funny. Lex finds the old Kryptonian ship from the last movie. You wonder how? I honestly don't know. I'm not bullshitting you, the movie doesn't say. If I'm the one who wasn't paying attention, then that's on me, but I'm pretty sure the movie didn't explain how he got here. Anyways, Bruce stole the kryptonite from Lex and then finds information about Diana and the rest of the Justice League. This doesn't really matter, it's just a cheeky teaser to the Justice League movie. Instead of building up the movie with making films for all their characters and have you get introduced to them and like them just like Marvel did, they just put 1 minute of some found footage looking video into the movie with no context or them having any importance to the rest of the story and expects you to give a fuck. Why is this universe written so badly, man? I honestly give up. So Lex makes a plan and combines Zod's body and his blood in the kryptonite chip that just creates Doomsday. Oh yeah, Doomsday was from Krypton, nah, he's just the love child of TikToker Lex and Zod's corpse. I love this movie so much, man. After that, knowing that Batman is going to try and kill Superman, he kidnaps Clark's mom and tells him if he doesn't kill Batman within an hour, he will kill her. Lois, when fighting this out, gets the chopper to Gotham where the fight is happening. I have to ask, how has bootleg J. Jonah Jameson not fired Lois or Clark yet? They have not done their jobs once during the entire story. So Clark and Bruce fight and shit. The fight is actually kinda cool. And when Batman is about to kill Superman, he stops because he hears his mother's name. Superman growing up in America is a known fact by the whole planet. Why is hearing his mother's name make Bruce stop himself from killing him? So finally they team up. Batman saves Clark's mother after he murders like 5 more guys.
Batman can't kill, right? So Batman can't kill is canon. And I'm like, okay, well, the first thing I want to do when you say that is I want to...
And with the help of Wonder Woman, they take down Doomsday after Superman sacrificing himself. And Jesus fucking Christ, the movie is finally over. It is so rare to see a film that is such a mess, such a misunderstanding of the characters it features in its story, and just dumb. I'ma be honest, it's just dumb. By the end of this 3-hour movie, I wasn't angry anymore. I was just so exhausted, bro. Like, I was so happy to be done with it. The action was actually kind of cool, and the way the movie was shot was so much better than the Man of Steel, but everything else is just so messy and inconsistent and just written so bad. The amount of shit in this movie that happens because Zack probably thought it's cool is honestly astonishing to me. I have never seen a man that understands the work they're adapting less than the way Zack Snyder writes these characters. I don't want to act like I'm better, but the way these characters think, the things they do, and what happens is just fundamentally different from the point of what any of them represent. Like, yes, the action is sick, but when you look for 2 more seconds, the whole thing starts falling apart. And I'm sorry, but this movie didn't need to be 3 hours. It's just so long and boring. It just doesn't make fucking sense, man. With all that said, I am more than thrilled to give it a 2